Hello and welcome to ThePrint. Today I'm going to interview somebody who's making India's first climate fiction or cli-fi, which is a relatively new term and a lot of people actually don't know much about it. So first, let me welcome him, Nila Madhab Panda. He's the one who directed this amazing film called I Am Kalam back in 2010. And one of his recent works, Karvi Hawa, is one of my favorites. So welcome, sir. And so let's start with what exactly is cli-fi or climate fiction?
Well, I felt, so when you make a film on environmental issue, people start calling you environmental filmmaker. I mean, all that is fine.
Right.
But when, today is a world of full-on OTT shows, okay? And OTT is something, a space where, you don't need to go to a cinema theater or anything and you start watching in phone and there. And I felt when we started the story, which is a strong thriller story, we started getting into it and the story, characters, everything got in a way that it started looking like it's what we are living around, what we are seeing around. And there is a fear to it. So imagine a thriller which is a fear of your own environment, own climate. So which is why we say it's a cli-fi. It's a very new term, which is climate fiction thriller.
Right.
So it's probably one of the people have made environmental thriller probably in other parts of the world.
Right.
But I don't think there is something called climate change fictional thriller. So which is why we call cli-fi.
So the Jengaburu Curse, which is the name of your work, is India's first climate fiction thriller. So it's set in Odisha. Is it because that's where you're from? Is that why you chose this particular place?
The idea is, so we are a state of huge population of natives, indigenous people, huge source of mines, mineral resources, okay? And of course, we all need that, whether for economy, development and everything. But of course, the fiction is a much, the story is a much bigger story, which is a global story, okay? And I felt, especially Jharkhand, Odisha, Chhattisgarh, even Karnataka, Goa has this kind of resources. So I felt if I take the story to Odisha, and Odisha is, if you see in the mainstream Hindi cinema, you have not seen, the visuals of Odisha, people of Odisha, culture of Odisha, and I belong to that state. When I said I'm doing such a big thriller, I better make it based out of Odisha, where you see the culture of Odisha, beauty of Odisha, resources of Odisha, minds of Odisha, even Jatra, there are a lot of smaller elements I try to bring it. So when today's audience are pretty aware, they are watching Korean shows, Japanese shows, American shows, it's no more limited to Indian shows. So when they see that, you have not seen your own place, you have not seen your own people. How many people knows that, forget about the place, state or anything. Just imagine that in our mainstream cinemas or shows, we have not seen the real indigenous people who are the largest contributor for your sustainability of this planet. They have a story. They have legends. So are we not responsible to tell those stories, to show their face? We have 62 tribes in Odisha. Assam has that. Bengal has that. So somebody has to tell the story. And I think this is really, I would say, first time you're telling the stories of indigenous people. How powerful they are, part of us, part of this planet. And it's a pure commercial fiction. So that's the interesting part that, okay, it's not that, oh, Mother Panda again come up with art house cinema or, just environmental activist cinema. No, it's a pure thriller.
So let's go back to what you just said, that a lot of these tribes, a lot of indigenous people across India never get space, at least not even in, forget about visual representation. I think sometimes they don't even get space in the discourse about climate change. Right now, I think in India, we are beginning the talk. We are sitting here in Delhi and there is flood going on at this moment. It is really happening. Fiction, when we say fiction, I think a lot of us tend to believe that fiction is something that happens in the realm of fantasy. But most of us are living in that fiction, unfortunately. No one would have imagined floods in Delhi a couple of years ago, a decade ago maybe. We are here. But do you think that this discourse where we focus on the bigger cities and the bigger problems and we only start talking about issues when it happens in a Delhi or a Bombay, Odisha has been battling floods for ages now. A lot of places have been battling. So was this also crucial to bring in the fact that why do we forget these people who are responsible for saving so much of the planet when we are talking about climate change, that it becomes about people sitting in, bureaucracy as opposed to people who are actually doing something on the ground?
Well, it's too late.
Right.
In 2006, I made my first climate change documentary.
Right.
It's called Climate's First Orphans.
Right.
That's when I said, it's here, it's affecting all of us. This was, I'm talking about 17, 18 years back. By now, what we are into, we have no idea. Be it climate change effect into floods, drought. This year we felt the temperature rise,
Right.
It was globally, they said that the most hottest ever temperature globally, Fire in Brazil or anything you say. We recently had one event. Let me tell everything. We can talk a lot. We can talk about IPCC policy, these, that, everything. Youth for climate change, environment, da. And which is why I have stopped going and talking. I said I'll make a series. Watch it. Because it's too late. I'm giving you something which I want you to feel it. That's what I say. When you watch my cinema, it starts working out when you go back home. This is a series which will get into your blood. Okay, I said a simple thing. Forget about this flood or anything. We had a recent event, which is COVID.
Right.
We come to at a level of greed that we don't realize, which turned into curse, which is why we call it the Jengaburu Curse. These curse can affect anywhere, anybody, anytime, in any geographical position. So, COVID is as good as a curse. And all the debates, if we see, it is a man-made created virus. How greedy we have become, not realizing that we trying to create a world when your own air, own water is dying, polluting. You started going and looking for water in Mars. Can't you fix this? Can't you think about it? Bro, I have these plants. I have a beautiful dialogue in that. What will you do when the last fish will die, last river will die, last bit of air get polluted? You saw that right just 2 years back, what COVID did to us. We were shut down as mankind. After so much of development, we were shut down. All the best of the countries in the world shut down in their room. Have we learned anything? I'm sorry, no. That's what I'm saying. Don't take your greed to that level that it becomes a curse and it will come back to you. And that's the story I'm speaking. It's a strong story, dark story, yet it's something which each of us does and we suffer. हम हिंदू शास्त्र में भी कहते हैं कि कर्म, जो कर्म, what you do, you will suffer right here. It's not next birth or anything. So everything is, so my story is simple. My story is based on a simple tribal legend. And all these legend stories come from truth. Like you said, whatever fiction I may say, it's all truth and events based series. It comes from different parts of the world. I just did a interesting, gripping, emotional suspense thriller so that you'll understand it better. As a storyteller, I felt that's my job.
So do you think that genre also helps? What you pointed out, that now a lot of us might not even go to halls anymore. We all know the situation at this point, but I'll probably watch it on my phone while I'm taking the metro. I'll probably watch it on my TV when I have like a few hours or I'm doing something. So do you think that there has been a slate of you yourself made documentaries on environment? Do you think that sometimes people actually look at the truth better or try to understand it better when sometimes it's fiction in that sense? Like when we say climate fiction, it's not fiction in that sense that, oh, this happens, this is not happening. But it's like I'm fictionalizing something that's real so that you get it better.
Yeah, everybody loves a good story.
Right.
Okay. And I always say I'm a kahani khor. Okay. And since childhood, I love telling stories, you know. And I found a format which is cinema. It's the best way to tell stories, you know. You create character, you create drama, you create emotions, and you know, every frame you create in a way. And this, especially the visuals are stunning. So every frame, every piece of music, Aloka has done music. She's outstanding. You know, you can't move your eyes. That's the fun of when you create interesting, gripping thriller. So fiction means it's all based on where does it come from?
Right.
Our day-to-day life. I mean, what we suffer, we try to, you write or I make a film out of it. So today I learned the format, how to impress, how to hold the audience together. And I brought that. This is all part of certain realities. It helps in terms of telling a story, you know. End of the day, okay, as an artist also, I would like millions of people come and see. And then they realize what I'm trying to say.
So you have interesting figures like Nasir, who is known for his roles that he does. So how was it like getting the cast and finalizing it, and then figuring out, okay, this is how it is going to work out, like that this is going to be set in Odisha? Because unfortunately, like I mentioned earlier, that when you say Odisha, the first thing that will not come to my head is films. I mean, unfortunately, that's the situation. Even though I know it has its own films that do come out, it has its own set of culture. So what was it like for these actors who came in to be a part of this film?
Well, it's very interesting. I think, of course, the first impression is Sony Live has been doing well. They've been creating great content. Then second, for any artist or a platform is what kind of a content is it?
Right.
It's a very unique content. They were very impressed with the story which I've narrated then.
Right.
Okay. Mukesh Chabra did a fantastic casting. My writer Mayank did a fantastic job. And heads up to Sony to have that kind of presence. You know, for a show, you have to give 3 to 4 years. 3 to 4 years, extreme perseverance and patience you need. Okay. The most beautiful part is why everybody came together. They felt this is a story need to be told. And this is a story which will work. Because, okay, me as a director, Makarand Bhai as an actor, even or Nasir sir, okay, they will say that, okay, we'll work as part of it. We get money. Here in this project, the DOP came from Colombia, you know, Alokanand Das Gupta is the sound, music director. I think everybody came out of love more than just as profession and work. They realized that this is a story which will work, and this is something we should tell the story. So I think it was immense. The show, I would say that first thing that there is immense love and passion which brings the talent together to make what it is today. Which is why if you see in just 20 hours, there's 7 million views on YouTube. I find it pretty impressive, you know. I think it means people are liking it.
Right. So what is your take on the fact that OTT platforms making it probably more accessible, not just to, you know, artists like yourself, but also to the audience who earlier sitting in some small town in some part of the country might not even have access to a lot of these movies. For example, I come from such a small town that a lot of these movies would not even come to my place, because they would say, oh, this is not the market, because there'll be like 400 people out of like a lakh who is going to watch this. But do you think that OTT is making it possible that these stories which need to be told, which might not always find space, or even the idea that a series will have episodes as opposed to a 2-hour film, which means that you have to cut out on so many things if you want to make it in 2 hours, and here if you have 6 hours of... So do you think this space is where we can actually spread awareness in a certain way, which is not preachy necessarily, but something that will also stay with people enough so that at least even if they don't act immediately, they can say, okay, fine, I know this is a real issue and I should look out for it.
Okay, so it's like dopamine, you know, it's like the chemicals which works with your brain and soul. How does a cinema impress you?
Right.
Okay, it's simple. So you go to the theater in a dark room, you see Akshay Kumar or Shahrukh's film. Till that time, you become that. So that's how you get involved in the character. Okay. It's my debut OTT, 7 episodes. Right. So I felt one good thing of OTT is that the moment you start watching the show and you like a character and the story, you started becoming that. You started imagining yourself that. Okay. which is a very difficult exercise as a filmmaker I had to do in a long form like OTT series, okay? And you are accessible to everyone on phone, not somebody has to buy a ticket. So I felt this is a very exciting format to tell the story. And there are, in cinema you have to compromise a lot of things. Okay, this also I want to say, this also I want to say, and you can't say because you have limited, 2.5, 3 hours. So I have a show where whatever I want to say, I'm saying. But most important factor I felt whenever I watch a show even, you start really getting into the character. And that's what I try to do here. Whatever story you wanted to engage the audience with, you actually become that. As a creator become that, that's what you're passing on to the audience. Coming to OTT, I have one issue about OTT. OTT's one biggest problem is, of course, India has a vast audience, different language, different things. But I felt one bad thing, we are one of the largest cinema producing country. We still, a Squid Game become famous in India.
Right.
Okay, there are bigger shows from Japan, Korea getting famous. Whereas we still not reached to that stage to create great OTT, which our shows become famous in other countries.
Right.
Okay, except few Gine Chune 3-4 shows. How many OTT show you will say that, oh, this is a kind of a really international standard good show which will impress the other parts of the world. I felt we put that kind of an effort, bringing international crew into it, took time to write, establish the setup, character. The locations are very unique and new. It's shot very well. So I try to do something which not only for, a food for Indian audience, but I'm trying to see that how globally it can go. That's one of the thing also I tried, and also because I come from that kind of a background, which is why all the artists came, that they knows what kind of film I have made. I might not have made a 100 crore commercial film, but my film has impressed people. So that's why they came. When you have this kind of a show, people believe in you, and they realize end of the day that they're happy what they have, what we have.
Okay, so do you think this show will also help? Because what happened initially when OTT shows started, a lot of these shows put the spotlight on smaller North Indian towns, which people would not talk about, for example, right? Like, we think Delhi, Bombay, Kolkata, maybe a bit of Chennai thrown in a bit, but we wouldn't go to small towns. And so suddenly small town and crime became a whole thing, thanks to OTT. Do you think this will also probably help put the spotlight in a place like Odisha and nearby, in Eastern India especially, that there are stories there, that there are unique locations there, that there are characters and actors there who also, can do great work? Do you think this will also help that?
Well, indeed, let me tell you one part of it which people should think. I have characters, people, villages who are from the tribes.
Right.
Can I cast them from Bombay? They will look fake. I said we had a clear idea that we can't make a hulala tribal thing, how Bollywood had done earlier, okay? Or anybody has done. I said we make it real. Imagine the casting of people from different tribes from the village and make them act in action scene also. So means you actually try to bring, it's not about the location. When you try to bring a new culture to your show, it is new. That is India. India is not just about Delhi, Bombay and Kolkata. India is much bigger than that. So half of our films shot in Mumbai, okay? But we really need to see India is beyond that. Your 70% are still rural areas in this country. How many stories do you tell? Why Panchayat worked? It's a fantastic story, beautifully articulated story, it worked. So it means there is a need, there is audience want that kind of stories. And we get scared in cinema because हम थिएटर लेके जाएंगे नहीं काम करेगा, इन्वेस्टर पैसे नहीं लगाता है, and we get into that whole insecurity. But somebody has to do that. I created my first film as a debut film. I created the story in rural, almost like rural Rajasthan. I took Kadbi Hawa to Bihar.
Right.
So somebody says, one of the big filmmakers said that you can't make a film on climate change. I did that in Kadbi Hawa. It's all about extreme weather conditions. What are you suffering in Delhi today, or what happened the drought earlier. So you got to have, as a storyteller, it's all about guts, that I'm convinced about this story and I want to tell this.
Right. I think we should really end on that note, because that's something that's really significant, that if you're a storyteller, if you're somebody who has the power to tell a story in front of people in whatever medium it may be, you know, in the print, in the visual, I think you should have the guts to sort of say it. So we'll wait to watch the 7-episode series, The Jengaburu Curse, which will come out on Solilive. Thank you so much, sir, for talking to me and giving me such insightful ideas, especially about environment. And climate change is real and it's happening. But let's look at this show, maybe this thriller tells more people about what we are actually going through and what is to come in the next few years. Thank you so much.